Hello, and welcome to A Brand New Day with BTS, a podcast dedicated to bringing you a day-by-day history and song discussion of the South Korean music group internationally known as BTS. In this week's episode, Lilith by Halsey and Suga is amazing. The show and prove of American Hustle Life leaves Suga unconscious. J-Hope had a listening party 3 years ago today, and Jungkook's entire July 14th, 2023 is filmed via numerous media outlets. But first, BTS activity last week, Saturday, July 5th to Friday, July 11th. Let's start with the two members that we're used to hearing about these days. J-Hope appeared for a surprise set at Psy's Summer Swag concert in Korea. He killed it, of course, and looked gorgeous doing so. He also appeared on episode 81 of The Dundun Show, and in Japan, Nippon's TV's The Music Day 2025 aired a recorded performance of Mona Lisa. While all that was happening, Jin had his concerts in Chiba, Japan. From all reports, they were wonderful, and Jin adapted his MC skills well to Japanese, though he remarked that a lot of the Japanese army seemed to understand when he spoke Korean as well, so he was surprised and thankful. He did a Weverse live after day one with a little exhausted version of Eat Jin that was very cute. While J-Hope and Jin were living it up in Korea and Japan, V was living it up in Paris. He had fun out on the town for a couple days, and then he attended the Celine Spring 2026 show. He did a couple of lives while in Paris, just short little check-ins, either because he woke up a little hungover or possibly still a little drunk, or he was just happy to be all dressed up and looking pretty. On yet another continent, RM tried to do a reverse live after safely arriving in LA, but sadly had dropped his phone in some water earlier, and he discovered that his mic made him sound like he was at the bottom of the ocean. He decided to wait until the other members arrived to sort out what he was going to do about that. Since then, Jimin, Jungkook, and Suga have joined him in LA. Jimin updated us on Weverse that they all arrived safely. On Army Day on July 9th, V wished us a happy Army Day with photos from his time in France. Jimin posted a selfie already in a recording booth, even though he literally had just arrived in LA, and he drew a slice of birthday cake on the photo to wish Army a happy birthday. J-Hope posted a selection of photos of Army that his concert photographer took while he was on tour, and he put it to the soundtrack of Stevie Wonder's I Just Called to Say I Love You. J-Hope has since traveled to Berlin, Germany, where he'll stay until after his appearance at Lollapalooza this weekend. It will be live streamed on YouTube and Weverse for those interested in checking out his 90-minute headlining set. The other thing live streaming this weekend, which will have happened by the time you're listening to this, is Jin's Osaka show. He has 2 shows this weekend in Osaka, and the second one will be live streamed on Weverse on Sunday. Hopefully you all check that out. I'm going to check it out. I really loved his concert. I love his voice. I want to listen to as many live streams of it as I possibly can. So that's 2 live streams on Sunday, which will be yesterday by the time this has released. But it will be Jin's Osaka show and J-Hope's Lollapalooza set. That's exciting. I'll talk about those more possibly in the next episode. This day in BTS history, July 14th. July 14th, 2012. J-Hope is once again performing Animal with Jungkook on Music Core. It's Jungkook's final week of promotion, so they're doing final performances on each music show. July 14th, 2013. RM tweet recommends How to Love by Lil Wayne. Jin films a log. He doesn't know what to talk about, but figured that he hasn't filmed a log in a while. He probably should. As he ends the log, he mentions that he's been reading fan letters that say that the fans are thankful and sorry. And Jin says he feels the same way. Thankful and sorry. July 14th, 2014. As part of American Hustle Life, BTS have a concert at the Troubadour in LA. It's called Show and Prove Concert, in which they perform some of their own songs and some of the dance and singing challenges they had to produce for the show. The concert is free and is filled to the capacity very quickly in the small venue. Jin and J-Hope tweet selfies. BTS also tweet a picture of V, Jimin, and Jungkook handing out the flyers for the show, which was content that they filmed earlier. That evening, Jimin films a log. He's thankful for the experience of filming American Hustle Life. He reflects on their visit to Skid Row and how it made him grateful and that he wants to work hard to deserve his good fortune. As I mentioned last week, filming American Hustle Life while recording Dark and Wild ended up overworking BTS to a ridiculous degree. Shortly after the concert, either that night or the next day, Suga ends up fainting. He obviously recovers and only complains that the fainting prevented him from packing up and he had to do it all in a rush last minute before their flight back to Korea. Years later, when Suga discussed the show on Suchita, he mentioned that he almost ran away during this time, but realized that he was stranded in LA and had nowhere to go. He also mentioned at the time that he felt the most bad about the kids, meaning Jimin, Tae, and Jungkook, and how rough it was for them, even though Suga was the one that ended up passing out. If you do watch American Hustle Life at any point, or any of the logs that they filmed during it, please keep in mind that they're all working on multiple nights of only 2 to 3 hours of sleep, at most, and are basically half out of their minds in exhaustion the entire time. July 14th, 2015. BTS has just wrapped up the Red Bullet tour in Australia and are about to travel to the US to continue the tour there. On this day, Suga and RM both tweet selfies. JK recommends the song Romance by Cheese and posts a video of himself in the recording booth. JK also tweets that he taught V to cut the collars off his shirts, so that's why they're both doing it now. Jin also tweets a selfie. V tweets a picture of himself. RM tweets a mirror selfie after working out. And on Fan Cafe, V posts a photo of himself and his parents riding electric Segway-type vehicles on Nami Island. July 14th, 2016. BTS travel to Nagoya, Japan, where they'll have a concert the next day. J-Hope tweets selfies with the group at a restaurant, except Jin and JK, who were asleep at the hotel, according to J-Hope. JK then tweets a photo of the snacks at the hotel and complains that he can't sleep and should have just gone out to eat with the others. He then tweets a series of photos in which he eats 6 cups of ramen for dinner. Also, on this day, the Behind for Bon Voyage episode 2 airs. July 14th, 2017. BTS might be filming the Love Yourself highlight reel at this time. All I know for sure is that Jimin tweets a selfie video. July 14th, 2018. I have no idea what they were doing on this day, but this was around the time that they filmed Run BTS episode 57 and 58, in which they had an Italian cooking competition, and episodes 61 and 62, where they played games at the sauna. July 14th, 2019. BTS have their Love Yourself, Speak Yourself concert in Shizuoka, Japan. It's day 2 of the concert there. Jin has freshly re-dyed his hair purple. You can see some of the behind the scenes on Memories 2019 DVDs. After the show, RM and J-Hope tweet selfies. Suga and Jin have dinner together, and Jungkook posts a selfie with Jimin on Weverse. Suga does a V-Live once he's back in his hotel room. He talks about We Don't Talk Together being released the week before. Suga explains the collaboration process a little. He had originally made the song with El Capitan before El Capitan started working with Big Hit. So the original title was With Yi-jung, which is El Capitan's real name. Suga originally gave the song to the Big Hit team thinking it could be used for BTS, but they didn't think it fit with BTS. So it went to A&R and they shopped it around for him. Suga says that he often gets offers from international artists to work together, but they always want to meet in person, and Suga doesn't have the time. The Korean artists are fine with doing everything remotely. While showing the original demo to ARMY, Suga comes across the first rejected sketch he did for Epic High when they were developing what became Eternal Sunshine. He plays it for fun and realizes that it sounds even better than he remembered, and he wonders if he should use it. This will eventually become Moonlight for his D2 album, released in May 2020. After Suga's live, J-Hope posts a photo of his view from the hotel and is active on Weverse chatting with ARMY. He also posts a selfie. JK also is active on Weverse responding to comments. July 14th, 2020. It's the pandemic, so I have less visibility into what they're doing. They're promoting mainly in Japan at this time. So on this day, they appear on NTV Tsukiri. Jimin also posts about the heavy rainfall that Korea is experiencing. Run BTS episode 108 airs. It's the second part of video game episodes. July 14th, 2021. BTS do an interview with Jimmy Fallon. Jin and J-Hope are both active on Weverse. Jin posts a selfie in which he has a massive bump on his forehead, and he explains that he hit his head on a window, and he asks everyone to blow on it for him, which is the Korean equivalent of kissing it better. In Japan, BTS appear on Fuji Television's 2021 FNS Music Festival. This is the day before BTS are made presidential envoys for future generations and cultures ahead of their third UN speech. Just so you know. July 14th, 2022. The teaser is released for J-Hope's song Arson. In true J-Hope fashion, his Instagram is a PR machine, and he shares the teaser and also photos from a W Korea photo shoot. He also posts a photo of flowers sent to him from Japanese actor Kentaro Sakaguchi. J-Hope films Give Me a Minute, episode 1, which is Zico's YouTube show at the time. This is also the night that J-Hope holds an advanced listening party for his new album, inviting every notable Korean musician, hip-hop artist, and dancer that J-Hope knows. All of BTS attend except for Suga, who sadly came down with a fever the day of the party. You can watch some of the shenanigans in the Bangtan Bomb J-Hope Jack in the Box listening party event sketch, and also in his documentary J-Hope in the Box. At the party, RM and Soyoon have their first meetup since they were introduced in 2019. They'll eventually collab on the song Smoke Sprite. Once Hobie returns home, he realizes that he hasn't eaten all day due to nerves. He weighs himself and he's below 60 kilograms, or 130 pounds. He relates the story later on SBS Love Game radio show. J-Hope posts video clips from the party on Instagram. Meanwhile, Jimin posts photos from when they filmed the Run BTS special episode Telepathy 2 days previously. July 14th, 2023. It's the day that Jungkook releases his first solo single, 7, featuring Latto. RM and J-Hope both post to recommend the explicit version of the song. V posts photos of playing cards, the Jack of Spades, the King of Clubs, and the Seven of Clubs. He also posts fan art of RM and Jimin riding bicycles. Hobie shares photos from an Esquire photo shoot. RM shares V's fan art post. Jungkook is actually in New York. He performs at Good Morning America's summer concert series. The actual scheduled performance time gets rained out, but he's able to pre-record his performance during what would have been his rehearsal time. After he gets back to the hotel, he does a quick live. He's a little upset because of the lack of rehearsal, the rain, and the fact that he's a little sick. He's gotten a few IVs and just now got some shots in his butt to try to get him healthy enough to do his schedule. JK is sorry to those who waited so long and camped out only to have the time together be so short, but he's also very thankful for the energy of the audience. JK also talks about the song in general and filming the music video. Han So-hee, his co-star in the music video, helped him a lot with the acting. He's also thankful to Latto for accepting the invitation to feature without hesitation. After his live, he tweets a photo of himself and Latto and thanks her. Once JK has wrapped up his promotions for the day, he packs a bag and meets up with Jimin, and they film episode 1 of their travel series, Are You Sure? They drive to Connecticut, go kayaking, at which point Jungkook's day gets even more wet when he tips over. They stop at a brewery, and then they go camp in a tiny house, at which point they call V and Suga to check in briefly. If that all sounds like a crazy, very busy day, you're not wrong. You can basically watch JK's entire July 14th, 2023 by watching, in order, Jungkook I Am Still series on Disney+. Then switch to Bangtan TV and watch Jungkook 7 featuring Latto promotion sketch. Then switch to Reverse and watch BTS 7 Moments Jungkook. Then Jungkook's live from that day. And then back to Disney Plus to watch Are You Sure? Episode 1. July 14th, 2024. RM uses his phone time in the military to share the fact that The Guardian named Right Place, Wrong Person on their 15 favorite albums of 2024 so far. And he also recommends Do Nothing by Sunset Rollercoaster. Jin is the only active member, and he is very active on this day because he is in France carrying the Olympic torch for the 2024 Summer Olympics. You can watch the behind the scenes of it in episode Jin at Paris 2024 as the torchbearer on Bangtan TV on YouTube. And that brings us to this year, where Jin will have just wrapped up his Osaka concerts and will likely be packing and heading to the US to join his bandmates at their house studio in LA while they develop the next BTS album, and Jin gets ready for his Anaheim concerts at the end of the week. Song discussion. Lilith by Halsey and Suga. This is my first Halsey song to discuss on the podcast. Before I get into it, Halsey uses either she or they pronouns. For purposes of consistency, I'm going to use she. while I discuss Halsey and this song, but it's good to keep in mind that Halsey considers themselves to be outside of a strict gender binary. Lilith as a song was first released by Halsey on her album If I Can't Have Love, I Want Power, which was released on August 27th, 2021. The song did not have a feature. It was written and produced by Halsey, Jasper Sheff, John Cunningham, Atticus Ross, and Trent Reznor. Most will recognize the producers Atticus Ross and Trent Reznor as members of the band 9 Inch Nails. Before we get into the song and the version that features Suga, let's talk about the mythological figure of Lilith. First, in the initial promo for the album and song, Halsey referenced a 19th century painting called Lady Lilith by Dante Gabriel Rossetti, which depicted a mistress of the painters, later painted over to resemble a model he worked with regularly, neither of whom were named Lilith. So the painter, who depicted a beautiful woman brushing and combing her long red hair, was referencing the mythological Lilith instead. As a mythological figure, Lilith appears in Jewish folklore as Adam's first wife, before Eve. The mythology of Lilith was developed in the Middle Ages. The story became that Lilith was made from the same clay as Adam, but refused to become subservient to him. She hooked up with an archangel instead, and refused to return to Eden. It should be noted that Lilith is not mentioned in any biblical text. This is very much a story that was developed independent of what became the Bible. But she is mentioned in the Talmud. However, her existence is disputed within some Jewish faiths, as well as they might be referencing a night creature, a class of demons, or a type of owl, not a woman. There's some evidence that she might have developed out of a Mesopotamian mythology that had some demonic names that sounded similar to the name Lilith. In early writings, she's depicted as vengeful and a temptress who destroys her lovers, very much in keeping with the whole patriarchal stance that independent women are evil, and if you're seduced by one, it's because she's an evil temptress sent by the devil to destroy you, and not because you're a douchebag that chose to cheat on your wife or whatever. Even back in the 8th century, the concept of Lilith as a type of demon was associated with divorce, as in you had to ward her off in order to prevent one. Because of her fall from grace, being that she was independent and refused to serve or obey her husband, in modern times, Lilith has become a figure and hero for feminism. As an example of how Lilith appears in modern feminism, here's an anecdote that I was actually just discussing at the hair salon this past week. In the 90s, when Lollapalooza and other music festivals were gaining popularity, with bands and singers singing back to back, predominantly, like still today, these were bands fronted by men or male soloists. There was a radio host at the time that said that no one wanted to listen to female singers back to back, either on the radio or at festivals. In response, singer Sarah McLachlan developed a traveling music festival which had only female lead singers in the lineup. She called it Lilith Fair, and it was very successful. Halsey's song Lilith was the first song that she wrote for the album, even though it didn't become the lead single or one of the 2 main promoted tracks. Halsey uses the song and the character of Lilith to write about love and relationships from the perspective of someone confessing their own flaws and destructive tendencies. Before I get into the lyrics, let's talk about how Suga comes into all this, because that's what we're here for. Halsey first worked with BTS back in 2019 as a feature for their lead single, Boy With Love, off their Map of the Soul Persona album. The first mention of Halsey by BTS was actually long before that, though, when BTS were first invited to Billboard Music Awards in 2017. RM did a V-Live before the award show and mentioned that he loved Halsey and was looking forward to seeing her at the award show. The next day, BTS did a live stream after the Billboard Awards and mentioned that they'd met Halsey and that they were friends now. Then they tweeted a photo of her with the group. Well, RM tweeted it and asked ARMY if they could edit him in because he wasn't in the photo itself and he was sad about it. A couple days later, they tweeted another group photo with her, this time with everyone included. Back to 2019. Halsey flew to Korea in order to film the Boy With Love music video with the boys. Then they performed it together at the Billboard Music Awards after the song was released, and she did a little press with them too. She also joined them on their tour stop in France to perform with them again later that year. While working together, they became friends. Halsey was born in 1994, so she's what's considered same-age friends with RM and J-Hope. As RM is the only fluent English speaker in the group, she hit it off with him first, to the point where when RM talks casually about Halsey, he actually calls her Ashley, which is her government name. When BTS and Halsey meet up, they tend to give each other friendship gifts. In no particular order, they've given and received friendship bracelets, a sparkly microphone, snacks, Christmas stockings, signed albums, and whiskey. BTS usually do swap deals for their features, which means that they'll ask an artist to feature for them, and in return, that artist can request BTS to feature on one of their future songs. In Halsey's case, she could pick any member to feature for her. She said in an interview that she was closest with RM at the time and guessed that a lot of people would assume that she'd choose him. However, she ended up listening to Suga's solo music, at the time his August D album that he released in 2016, and she looked up the translations and realized that lyrically and emotionally, he was the perfect musical match for her. And that was how Suga's Interlude came to be, which isn't even the song we're talking about. It was released in December 2019 as a pre-release teaser for Halsey's album Manic that was set to come out in January 2020. That should have been the end of it. Swap deal completed. Nice friendship formed. Time to ride off into the sunset. But instead, we get this very special treat of a second Halsey and Suga collaboration on a remix of Lilith for the Diablo 4 soundtrack, which came out in June 2023. Between December 2019 and June 2023, Suga and Halsey became closer friends. Once Suga was able to travel to the US at the end of 2021, he stopped in to visit Halsey. You can see some of the visit in his documentary Road to D-Day, such as Halsey doing Suga's hair to match hers with hilarious results. There was also parts of the visit kept off camera, like Suga meeting Halsey's baby. She posted a purposefully blurry photo of the interaction on her Instagram instead, and even the blurry photo is adorable. Halsey, though experiencing serious health issues, also came to the Grammys in 2022, just long enough to see BTS perform. She was in the front row of the standing ovation that they received, and then she slipped out to go home and rest. In May of 2023, Halsey was able to drop in on Suga's final day of the D-Day tour in LA for a special first and only live performance of Suga's Interlude. I'm assuming Blizzard Entertainment reached out to Halsey to use the song for Diablo 4. Because of the mythological origins of the name, a lot of media content about demons inevitably names a demon Lilith. The video game franchise Diablo is no different. A major demon antagonist in the game is called Lilith. Like one of the original myths of Lilith, the game has her as a lover of an archangel. This time the angel is named Inarius, though in Diablo they are now feuding. When the song dropped, Halsey said that her and Suga both grew up playing the game and that she'd always wanted to do a concept with Suga with this type of dark mythology. The characters they play in the music video may reference the characters in the video game, with Halsey as Lilith and Suga in the role of Inarius. They couldn't film together, likely due to Suga's tight schedule with his tour and enlistment, but Halsey filmed on location at a church in France that had been repainted to be rather demonic, and Suga filmed his parts on a soundstage in Korea on May 22nd, 2023, in the few days he had between the North American and Asian portions of his tour. The Diablo YouTube channel has a behind the scenes of the filming if you're interested in seeing the making of it. So let's talk about the lyrics and how the Diablo version differs from the original version. Since this is an English song, I'm not going to walk through every single lyric. It'd make the episode too long. So I'll talk about the verses and the choruses in chunks. The lyrics for the version with Suga already differ from the original song, even with Halsey's parts. This is very much a song that has been partially rewritten for the soundtrack, but still sticks with the theme of being destructive in relationships. In the updated lyrics, the first verse is about Halsey's ability to be aggressive, her tendency to say the truth even if it hurts the other person, and that she can change like a season. This is nothing new, and she's been down this road before. The first chorus remains unchanged from the original song. It's also really good, and I kind of want to sing it to you. Another reason why I'm not going to go line by line through the lyrics, it's harder for me to resist singing the English songs. But it starts off with, "You know I get too caught up in a moment. I can't call it love if I show it. I just fuck things up if you noticed. Have you noticed? Tell me, have you noticed?" In the second verse, instead of wondering if Halsey ever loved the other person, she instead brings the criticism more directly to them for how things worked out. That they did everything she told them and let anybody with a body control them. There's a self-criticism in there too, and Halsey brings in the demon theme for the Diablo soundtrack by inserting the line, "And fuck like a demon, do it like nothing, I am disgusting, I've been corrupted." In that Halsey knows that yes, the other person let her control them and do anything she wanted because the sex was good, but Halsey was the one that recognized that was happening and still did it. When Suga comes in, he turns what was an original repetition of the chorus into a bridge in which he responds to Halsey's chorus. Suga responds to Halsey with her own words, but changes the pronouns to recognize her and also include himself in some of the sentiments. He sings, I know you get too caught up in the moment. You can't call it love if you show it. We just fuck things up. Yeah, I noticed. Yeah, I noticed. Hear me? Yeah, I noticed. Suga is saying, yes, I recognize and see everything you are saying about yourself. I did notice you. I also fuck things up. Suga continues with the bridge with additional new words, and instead of just saying, I see you and I understand and have experienced similar things, he also adds some advice. Step out of the moment that's been trapping you in all this negativity of hatred and insanity. Don't dwell on the past. It's time to make a change. Look around you. Believe in what you see. I have returned to hell. Now, obviously, or at least in my opinion, that last sentence is to pull in the character of Inarius in Diablo 4 and make this song a duet between Lilith and Inarius, two former lovers who know each other well. But the words before that are all Suga's advice to someone trapped in a spiral of self-recrimination over yet another failed relationship. Step out of this moment of failure. Put the past behind you. If you recognize a pattern of behavior, then consciously try to make a change. Halsey and Suga sing together on the final repetition of the chorus, and it's gorgeous. I love their voices together. I love to hear Suga sing. I love everything about this song, honestly. It's also the first lengthy feature done by Suga in all English. Obviously, he had his English parts in Dynamite, Butter, and Permission to Dance, but this feature seems longer and more personal. Could just be the different style of song affecting my perception of it. This is more the type of genre that I'm into, rather than the radio hits we needed during the pandemic. One thing I love about this song and the similarities between Suga and Halsey is that the lyric of I can't fall in love because I'm focused was in the original song too. A few of the BTS members, whether as just a media line or more sincerely, have mentioned the fact that even if you ignore the anti-idol dating culture in South Korea, their workaholic tendencies alone make it nearly impossible for them to sustain any kind of meaningful romantic relationships. I don't have anywhere I'm going with this, I just think it's interesting to note. The intro and outro of the song, sung by Halsey, focus on an exploitative culture where people take advantage of your generosity, but also play with the idea that the more generous you are, the more it returns to you. Or does it? Is that just an excuse for people to take more? Did I mention I love this song? I've talked way too long about all things Halsey and Suga. That's your overview for Lilith. So let's spin the random song generator and see what I'm going to be talking about next episode, which will likely be released on a random day. So just keep your notifications on, I guess. I'm going to aim for at least 2 weeks, or at most 2 weeks, rather. We'll see. But let me pull up the random song generator and see what we're talking about whenever the next episode ends up dropping. And the winner is Rainy Days by V from his album Layover in 2023. So that will be next episode. Can't say next week, but the next time I record an episode, I will talk about Rainy Days. And that brings us to the end of this week's episode. If you'd like to discuss this episode, or next week's song, or have a say in what song gets chosen in the future, you can find me on Patreon and Ko-fi at A Brand New Day Pod. You can also find me on Blue Sky at A Brand New Day Pod, or you can email me at abrandnewdaypod@gmail.com. Thank you. Have a good day.